In the streets of Cairo, you'll often hear the Egyptian military described as Khair Ajnad Al-Ard, the best soldiers on earth. It is a title rooted in the concept of ribat, a state of perpetual defense. This specific phrase is more than a slogan. It is a 1,400-year-old prophetic tradition that anchors Egyptian national identity and modern military doctrine. But a viral wave of internet skepticism is now challenging that foundation. Critics across social media are calling this hadith a fabricated myth, citing historical gaps to label the tradition as weak. If these critics are correct, the nation has built its strategic and spiritual identity on a historical error. To find the truth, we have to look past the digital noise. We are going to consult the scholars and forensically trace this chain of custody back 1,400 years to the original source. The investigation begins with the word ribat. Linguistically, it refers to the act of tying or binding oneself to a specific task or duty. In a military context, that binding describes a state of constant readiness, specifically the guarding of a frontier against external threats. The prophecy assigns this geopolitical destiny specifically to Egypt, predicting a state of active defense that never ends. Verifying this tradition means determining if Egypt was historically designated as a permanent, unbreakable garrison. This is the Mosque of Amr ibn al-As in Old Cairo. In the late winter of the 7th century, this courtyard was the site of a sermon that defined the nation's history. The speaker was Amr ibn al-As himself, the commander who had recently led the Muslim forces into Egypt. He issued a directive to his men: protect the native Egyptian Copts. He cited the prophet's words, noting their ancient bloodlines through Hajar and Maria. It was in this context that Amr passed on the prophetic claim that the Egyptian army is the best on earth because they are in a state of rabat. This Sinlan is the ground zero for the tradition, the point from which these words had to survive over 1,000 years of transmission. Scholars track these quotes using a sanad, a meticulous chain of narrators used to verify historical claims. The chain descends to an 8th century Egyptian scholar named Abdallah ibn Lahia. He is the specific narrator whose work has triggered the modern investigation. Skeptics point to a house fire that destroyed Ibn Lahia's library, arguing that the loss of his books compromised his memory and his reliability as a source. However, his contemporaries in Egypt defended his work. Scholars who studied with him directly maintained that his documentation was sound and that his oral transmission remained rigorous. Centuries of historians didn't rely on one man. They cross-referenced this sermon against other regional archives, finding that the core text remained consistent across different chains of transmission. This peer-reviewed consensus suggests that the quote isn't an internet rumor, but a verified historical record. Today, institutions like Dar al-Ifta confirm the tradition is sahih, or authentic, upholding the 1,400-year-old consensus. But the evidence also exists in the physical geography of the region. The nation's defense history mirrors the exact state described in the text. This map illustrates 1,000 years of conflict. During the Crusades and the Mongol expansions, Egypt acted as a regional barrier, halting major invasions at its borders. The phrase "best soldiers on earth" persists because it aligns with this history of the nation serving as an unbreakable regional garrison. To be in Ribat until the day of resurrection is a mandate of vigilance. It's a 1,400-year-old tradition of strength defining the nation today.